My wife lied about being pregnant. While I covered her medical bills, so I exposed the truth publicly and took every dollar back from her. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and for most of my life, the idea of becoming a father meant everything to me. It wasn't about legacy or pressure from anyone. It was just this quiet dream I carried since I was a teenager. The kind of dream where you picture weekend mornings with a kid on your shoulders, or late night feedings where you're exhausted but grateful. I worked hard for years, saved money, and tried to build a stable foundation so that whenever the time came, I'd be ready. I always thought that when I finally started a family, I'd do it right. Clara, my wife, was someone I genuinely believed wanted the same thing. On paper, we looked like the perfect couple. To outsiders, we were supportive, affectionate, predictable. But behind closed doors, there were moments, subtle ones, where things didn't feel as solid. She would shut down emotionally during conversations that hit too close to her insecurities. She'd get quiet for entire evenings without explaining why. And sometimes, she kept her phone turned away from me like she was protecting something fragile. Still, I pushed through it. I told myself marriage had rough patches, and I wasn't going to nitpick every uncomfortable moment. I wanted to trust her. I chose to trust her. Then, after a few months of trying for a baby, Clara came to me with tears in her eyes and told me she was pregnant. She said it like it was some miracle meant to heal every tiny fracture between us. I held her, overwhelmed, shaking, laughing, because I thought the universe had finally handed us the thing we'd been waiting for. She said, "We're finally going to be parents," and I believed her with my whole heart. But almost immediately after, something felt off. She became distant, guarded, like the news wasn't bringing us closer. It was pushing her further away, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The first real hint that something was wrong came when I asked Clara if I could go with her to her first prenatal appointment. I'd pictured that moment for years, the two of us sitting in a small clinic room, hearing a heartbeat for the first time. But when I asked, she hesitated. Not a normal hesitation either. Her face tightened, her shoulders tensed, and she said, I get anxious around doctors. I'd rather go alone this time." I remember standing there, confused. "Are you sure? I want to be there with you," I told her gently. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Please," she whispered, "just let me handle this. It's already overwhelming." Inside, something felt wrong, but I didn't want to start a fight with a pregnant woman, especially not when she claimed she was feeling vulnerable. So I backed off. I told myself I was overthinking, that every couple handles pregnancy differently, but a part of me carried that uneasiness around like a stone in my stomach. A few days later, she came home with a stack of medical bills, none of which she let me see in detail. She just placed them on the table and said, "They weren't covered by insurance. Can you take care of them? I don't want to stress the baby." Her voice trembled like she was scared, and guilt washed over me instantly. "Yeah, of course," I said. "I've got it." I paid everything without asking questions. But then came another appointment, then another. And every time I offered to go with her, she shot me down. "Too many people in the waiting room triggers me," she'd say. Or, "The doctor asks really personal questions. It's embarrassing." Each excuse felt weaker than the last, but she delivered them with such conviction that doubting her made me feel like a monster. The final straw that week was when she claimed the clinic didn't allow partners inside due to policy changes. Yet a coworker of mine casually mentioned attending his wife's appointment the same day. That night, lying beside Clara as she slept soundly, I stared at the ceiling, uneasy, confused, and trying desperately not to imagine the worst. Something was not adding up, and I knew it. After that fight, everything shifted into a new, heavier phase. Clara became colder, more irritable, more controlling about anything related to the pregnancy. Every time I tried to bring up appointments or costs, she'd shut me down with the same line. "You're stressing me out. Do you want something to happen to the baby?" It was like she'd found the perfect weapon, fear, and she used it every single time. One morning, she handed me another stack of papers with a shaky sigh. "These are for additional tests. Insurance denied them. Can you just take care of it?" I scanned the top page and noticed half the text was faded, like it had been photocopied multiple times. "Clara, where are these coming from? Why do they look—" She snatched them back. "Does it matter? Do you want me to stay healthy or not?" I felt my stomach knot. "I'm not saying I won't pay. I just want to understand." She glared at me like I'd just committed a crime. "You're impossible to talk to." That's how every conversation started to go. Short, defensive, loaded with guilt. And slowly, I noticed other things. She always turned her phone screen away from me. She slept facing the wall every night. Her mood swings were sharp and unpredictable. She'd be affectionate one moment, icy the next. But the part that ate at me the most was the physical side. She never let me touch her stomach, ever. If I even moved my hand in that direction, she'd recoil fast and say, "Please don't. It makes me nervous. I'm high risk." Her body never changed either. Not even the slightest hint you'd expect after weeks of pregnancy. No bloating, no nausea, no cravings. Instead, she acted like being touched was a danger. Still, I kept telling myself she might just be scared. That maybe she was dealing with trauma she hadn't shared. That maybe I was the one failing her. Then, a call came in while she was in the shower. A number I didn't recognize. I picked up, thinking it might be her doctor. But the voice on the other end was not who I expected. And what they told me tightened the fear in my chest into something cold and sharp. The voice on the phone sounded calm, professional. Too calm for the panic it sent through my body. "Hello. This is the billing department from Northview Women's Clinic. We're calling to confirm that your wife won't be attending her follow-up appointment this week." My blood ran cold. I think you have the wrong number," I said quietly. "My wife goes to Ridgeview Medical." There was a short pause on the other end. "Sir, she listed Northview as her primary care facility. This would be her 4th missed appointment." 4th missed appointment. For a moment, all I heard was the water running behind the bathroom door. I forced air into my lungs. "Just to confirm, has she seen a doctor there?" "No," the woman replied. "She signed up for initial consultation paperwork, but she never completed any visits." That sentence echoed through my skull as I hung up, my fingers trembling so hard I nearly dropped the phone. When Clara came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor like I was trying to read answers off the wood grain. She noticed instantly. "What's wrong with you?" "Northview called," I said quietly. "They said you haven't shown up for any appointments." The air in the room changed. She froze. Not shocked, not confused, defensive. "That clinic targets pregnant women with scams," she snapped. "I told you about that." "No, you didn't." "Yes, I did," she yelled back. "You never listened to me." Her voice rose to a pitch that felt rehearsed, like she was performing outrage rather than feeling it. "Clara, just tell me the truth," I whispered. "Where have you really been going?" Her eyes filled with tears instantly, as if on cue. "I can't believe you're doing this to me while I'm carrying your child. You're going to give me a miscarriage." Guilt hit me like a punch. I backed down, apologizing, shaking, trying to breathe. I'm sorry. I'm not accusing you of anything," I said, even though every part of me was screaming that something was deeply wrong. She stormed off, slamming the bedroom door so hard the picture frames rattled. But later that night, lying awake with her back turned to me once again, I couldn't ignore the truth anymore. If she was pregnant, why did every piece of evidence say otherwise? The next morning, I woke up with a heaviness in my chest I couldn't shake. Clara was already gone. She claimed she had an early appointment, leaving the house before sunrise. But instead of going to work, I grabbed my keys and drove straight to Ridgeview Medical, the clinic she insisted she'd been going to all along. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel the whole way there. A part of me prayed I was wrong, that maybe this was all a colossal misunderstanding. When I walked up to the receptionist, my voice barely worked. "Hi, I'm trying to confirm some appointments for my wife, Clara West. She's pregnant." Saying the word felt like it lodged in my throat. The receptionist typed for a moment, then frowned. "I'm sorry, sir. We don't have a patient under that name." I felt the floor tilt. "She's been coming here for weeks," I insisted. "Ultrasounds, tests. She said this is her primary clinic." The woman looked at me with sympathetic eyes. "We've never treated her, not once." My chest tightened. I could feel my heartbeat pounding in my ears. "Are you absolutely sure?" She nodded slowly, kindly, like she'd seen men fall apart at that desk before. I stepped outside, the cold air hitting me so hard it felt like a slap. I leaned against my car, trying to breathe. Pregnant women don't just not exist in clinic records. I knew then this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate. I pulled out my phone and searched the ultrasound photo Clara showed me weeks ago, the one she claimed was our baby. It took less than 30 seconds to find the exact same image on Google. Same angle, same resolution, same everything. My hands went numb. A tight ringing started in my head. I wanted to scream, or cry, or collapse. But instead, I just stood there, staring at my own reflection in the car window. A man looking back at me who had given everything, and been given nothing but lies. That was the moment something inside me hardened. If Clara was lying about the pregnancy, then what else was she lying about? And how much had she already taken from me? I drove home in a haze, hands shaking, throat tight, mind spinning so fast I couldn't hold a single thought still. When I walked into the house, Clara was in the kitchen scrolling on her phone like nothing was wrong. She looked up and smiled faintly. "You're home early?" Her voice was light, carefree. It made something inside me twist painfully. I sat down across from her, trying to steady myself. "Clara, we need to talk." My voice cracked on the last word. She didn't even look up. "About what now?" "I went to Ridgeview," I said. "They've never seen you, not once." Her jaw clenched for a split second, and then she laughed. Actually laughed. "You're stalking me now. That's insane." "I'm trying to understand what's going on," I said quietly. "I want to help you. If something's wrong, just tell me." "There's nothing wrong," she snapped, slamming her phone down. "You're obsessed. You're going to ruin this pregnancy with your paranoia." I felt myself shrinking, emotionally collapsing inward. "Clara, please. Stop asking questions," she hissed. "And just pay the bills. That's your job." That line hit me harder than anything else had. My job? Was that all I was to her? A wallet? A source of funds? A stepping stone? Hours later, she left the house again, claiming it was for another urgent test. I watched her car disappear down the street, and then I opened our shared bank portal. I'd been avoiding it for weeks because I didn't want to seem controlling. But now, I needed answers. What I saw made my stomach drop. $18,000, gone. Spa charges disguised as wellness treatments. Restaurant charges labeled as medical meals. Transfers into accounts I'd never even heard of. It wasn't just lying anymore. This was theft. A slow, calculated draining of everything I had worked for. I put my head in my hands and broke down. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere too deep to name. I had never felt so stupid, so used, so hollow. And just when I thought I couldn't feel any lower, I heard something that shattered the last fragile piece of hope inside me. Clara had come home early. She didn't know I was in the hallway when she walked into the living room. I stood frozen as I heard her voice, light and playful, whisper into her phone. "Don't worry, Evan. He still thinks I'm pregnant." For a moment, I genuinely thought I'd misheard her. My brain refused to process it. But then she laughed. Soft, flirtatious. The same laugh she used to give me in our early days. "I told you, babe," she whispered into the phone. "He's clueless. He'll keep paying as long as I cry a little." My heart didn't just break. It detonated. I forced myself to stay silent, frozen in the hallway while she paced the living room. I know," she said with a giggle. "Once I pull a few more payments from him, I'll tell him the pregnancy failed. He'll feel too guilty to question anything. Men are pathetic when they think they caused something." My stomach twisted so violently I thought I'd throw up. Then she said his name again. "Evan, relax. We'll have enough saved to leave by next month." Evan, a name that meant nothing to me, yet everything in that moment. When she finally went upstairs, humming like she hadn't just stabbed me in the heart, I slipped into my office and closed the door. My hands were trembling so badly I had to steady them against the desk. I pulled up the home device I'd set up months ago, a system that automatically recorded audio when triggered by movement near the living room. I'd never once needed it, until now. And there it was, her whole conversation, crystal clear. I replayed it twice, just to be sure it wasn't a nightmare. Every word was a knife. After that, I moved with a kind of cold clarity I didn't recognize. I opened our shared bank statements again and cross-checked charges with locations. The spa she had been visiting? It wasn't a spa at all. It was a luxury boutique hotel. She and this Evan had been renting rooms there multiple times a week. The world around me blurred. The room spun. My chest felt tight, like I was being crushed from the inside. Every second hurt. Every breath burned. This wasn't just a lie. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a conspiracy. And suddenly, through the heartbreak and the shaking, a frightening calm settled over me. If she wanted to play me, I was going to play her back. And I wasn't going to lose another dollar or another moment to her lies. Once the shock settled into something sharp and controlled, I stopped shaking. I stopped crying. For the first time in months, my mind felt brutally clear. Not calm, never calm, but focused. I copied the full recording of Claire's conversation with Evan, saved the transcripts, downloaded screenshots of every suspicious transaction, and printed out the fake medical bills she had thrown at me for weeks. Each piece of paper felt heavier than the last, like physical proof of how deeply I'd been played. That afternoon, Clara walked past my office door without knowing I was inside. She hummed as she made coffee, completely oblivious. I stared at the door, listening, realizing with a sick twist in my gut that she wasn't even trying to hide her happiness. She was excited, counting down the days until she wiped me dry and disappeared. I opened a new email draft and typed a message to a family lawyer a colleague had recommended months ago, back when I thought I'd need help writing a will. Now it was for something I never imagined. We spoke on the phone within the hour. "Document everything," he said. "Every bill, every conversation, every inconsistency. Do not confront her yet. You need her to stay exactly as she is." "So, I act normal?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "Act like the perfect husband. Let her believe she's winning." I swallowed hard. I can do that. Over the next few days, I gathered everything. Bank statements, travel logs from the hotel, the fake ultrasound image, even footage from our home devices showing her leaving the house at times she claimed to be at appointments. I pieced it together like a puzzle, designed to destroy her carefully built fantasy. Then the lawyer gave me the next step. Invite her family over. Make it look like a celebration. She won't see it coming. So I did. I planned a pregnancy celebration dinner, telling her I wanted to reveal the gender of the baby. Her face lit up. Genuine excitement, not love. Just greed at the thought that her plan was working. She hugged me tight, whispering, "You're finally acting like a real father." I hugged her back, my voice steady, while the truth burned inside me. This celebration wouldn't be for a baby. It would be for her downfall. And the final proof I needed arrived just hours before the dinner. The night of the dinner, the house looked warm and welcoming. Soft lights, the smell of roasted garlic from the kitchen, Clara's favorite music playing quietly in the background. If someone walked in without knowing the truth, they'd think we were the happiest couple in the world, celebrating the happiest news imaginable. That was exactly what I needed. Clara floated around the room like she owned the place, greeting her parents, laughing with her sister, touching her stomach every few minutes like she wanted eyes on her. She kept glancing at me with this smug little smile, like she'd already cashed in on a future she had no intention of sharing with me. When everyone sat down, I stood at the head of the table. My hands felt steady, almost unnaturally so. Clara rested her hand on my arm and whispered, "Go on, announce it." I gently pulled my arm away. "Before we reveal the gender," I began, "I want to say a few words." Everyone quieted. Clara's eyes narrowed slightly, unsure. "I've spent the last few months believing I was going to be a father. I believed every bill, every appointment, every story." My voice wavered, not from fear, but from the weight of everything I'd held inside. "But I recently learned something important, something that affects all of us." Clara's chair scraped loudly as she shifted. "What are you doing?" she whispered harshly. I hit play on the TV. Her voice filled the room instantly. "Don't worry, Evan. He still thinks I'm pregnant. He'll pay anything if I cry." Her family froze. Clara shot out of her seat. "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But I didn't. The recording continued. Every sickening detail. Her plan. The fake pregnancy. The stage breakdowns. The hotel meetups. Her mother covered her mouth, horrified. Her father just stared at Clara like she was a stranger. Clara lunged for the remote, screaming, "This is taken out of context! He's manipulating you!" I stepped back. "There's more." I showed them the fake ultrasound photo. Google search pulled up beside it. The forged bills, the bank transfers, the hotel receipts with Evan's name. Clara broke. "Stop! Please stop!" She dropped to her knees, sobbing, not out of guilt, but out of fear. Her father whispered, "You lied to all of us." And for the first time, Clara had no script, no tears to weaponize, no story left to twist. Then she stood, grabbed her purse, and ran out the door, humiliated, exposed, and desperate. But the worst was still yet to come. The moment Clara fled the house, the room fell into a stunned, suffocating silence. Her sister stared at the floor, shaking her head. Her mother kept mumbling, "How could she? How could she?" And her father, normally a loud, dominating man, sat rigid, fists clenched, jaw trembling with humiliation. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt powerful. Instead, I just felt empty. After everyone left in awkward, broken pieces, I sat alone at the dining table, surrounded by cold food and cheap decorations. It felt surreal, like the house itself was holding its breath. A few hours later, my phone buzzed. Clara calling. I didn't answer. She called again, and again, 10 times. Then came the messages. Please listen. I can explain. You're ruining my life. You owe me that much. You monster. I blocked her. The next morning, I met with my lawyer, handing him the entire packet of evidence I'd gathered. He flipped through it, pausing occasionally, eyebrows raised. You have enough here for fraud, emotional damages, and theft, he said. We can recover most of the money, maybe all of it. It was the first sliver of hope I'd felt in months. Within days, he filed official charges and submitted a freezing order on our shared accounts. Clara tried to drain what was left, but the bank stopped her. She showed up at my workplace, pounding on the glass door until security escorted her out. She screamed that I'd ruined everything, never once apologizing. Then, Evan reached out. A pathetic attempt, really. We can settle this privately, he messaged. Don't make it a big deal. I replied with 5 words. Stay away. Evidence is ready. He vanished after that. Weeks later, Clara was hit with a repayment order. Every spa charge, every hotel visit, every fabricated medical bill. She had to return all of it. And when she couldn't, her accounts were seized. Her family, ashamed, angry, betrayed, cut her off completely. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. But the final shift, the true moment of closure, didn't come until she showed up one last time, begging for something I never expected. It was late afternoon when she showed up, pale, exhausted, hair messy like she hadn't slept in days. She stood on my porch clutching a folder and a half-crushed tissue, her eyes swollen. I didn't open the door at first. I just stared at her through the glass, stunned by how different she looked without the arrogance, without the performance, without the lies holding her upright. She mouthed, "Please." Against my better judgment, I cracked the door just enough to keep the security chain on. "What do you want, Clara?" I asked, my voice low. She swallowed hard. "I lost everything." "That's not my problem anymore." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "Can we just talk? Please. I need help." There it was. The real reason she came. Not remorse, not accountability, need, dependence. The thing she always expected from me without ever giving anything back. "I don't owe you anything," I said. She shook her head, trembling. "I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking straight. Evan manipulated me. I was scared. I didn't know what to do." "Stop," I cut in. "You didn't make a mistake. You made choices, repeatedly." Her lip quivered. "Can you give me another chance? We can fix this. We can try again. I'll be better. I promise." I felt something inside me settle. Quiet, steady, final. "No, Clara. You didn't break our marriage. You buried it. And I'm done digging." Tears streamed down her face. "Then at least don't ruin my life." "You ruined your own life," I said. "I just stopped funding it." She sobbed, clutching the railing for support. But I felt nothing now. No anger, no grief, no softness, just closure. "I'm filing the final divorce paperwork tomorrow," I said. "Don't come back here." She stared at me, devastated. "You'll regret this." I shook my head. "No, this is the first decision in months that feels right." I closed the door, locked it, and for the first time in so long, the silence inside the house felt peaceful, not empty. Later that night, as I sat alone, I realized something. I hadn't lost a wife. I had escaped a parasite. And now, for the first time in a long time, I finally felt free enough to imagine a future worth living again.